Everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to the part 2 of the 3-part series that I'm doing of closing 2021 and ushering together 2022. Today we are going to cover Venus retrograde. In the part 1, I have covered the closure of North Node in Gemini, what the North Node in Gemini was supposed to teach us and what lessons do we carry forward to the next 9 years. Now today we are going to talk about the once in 8-year transit, which is Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which will happen from 19th of December and it will influence us all the way till 29th of January when Venus is retrograde, reversing the degrees from 11 degree of Capricorn to 26 degree 29 minutes of Capricorn. This is the degree 26 degree 29 degree of Capricorn where Venus is turning retrograde right now. That very degree which is conjunct Pluto of United States, but it's also the degree at which Pluto retrograde happened this year. So in some ways we have gone through a process of death, rebirth already in this part of our chart, in the Capricorn part of the chart, and I covered what part of our chart has Pluto covered in the last videos that I did for each of the signs where I detailed the Pluto transit. I'll link that in the comments for you to look at it if you've not looked. But we have gone through this process from April to about October of this process of rebirth in Capricorn part of our chart. And now from that place of power, we are going to choose differently. And that is the gist of Venus retrograde in Capricorn. We also had South Node in Capricorn, if you would recall, between 2018 to early 2020. Before nodes moved into Gemini and Sagittarius, we were having eclipses where we were losing or releasing something in Capricorn part of our chart. So possibly in 2018, we might have suffered a release or a loss, which was very significant in nature, which was structural in nature, which was integral part of who we are as our identity. And we might now be looking at a different perspective of it and replacing with something new with the new moon that will come in January. But before we get to the new moon in January, Venus retrograde in Capricorn will ask us to do some reconsiderations. We are being asked to reconsider what we truly want in Capricorn part of our chart before we can go ahead and have that new start in January. Speaking of growing up, we left the last video on the note of growing up being overrated, and then me saying that Venus retrograde will ask us to do some share of growing up. We have Venus going retrograde in Capricorn and it would be sitting with Pluto for most of December. You have felt that intensity because this is a very, very long transit compared to the 1 or 2 days of influence when Venus and Pluto meet, and it happened in January already. In January, Venus and Pluto were together. It's a very quick 1 or 2 days of intense, discussions with somebody, or an intensity with a woman, or an intense love affair, or somebody very intense coming into our life who changes us for a hot minute. But this whole month of Venus-Pluto together is an intensity that we have not experienced in the last many, many years. Even when Venus was retrograde in Capricorn in 2013, December of 2013 and early part of 2014. So December 2013 to January 2014 is when last time Venus was retrograde in this very zodiac in Capricorn. But even then Pluto was not part of it. So, this kind of intensity which happens like intense infatuation or intense need to hate or love somebody, that kind of a feeling has not happened in a very, very long time. And this aspect comes with a lot of intensity in personal relationships and in heart, and that is in stark contrast to what we just discussed in part 1 of the fun and the whole learning and teaching and coloring outside the lines energy of the full moon in Gemini that we are experiencing. That's why these two aspects are in conjunction with each other. In conjunction is when two people who have nothing in common with each other, they've been left in a room together with each other and asked to figure something out together. So these two aspects with nothing in common with each other, one who just wants to have fun a little bit, enjoy life a little bit, flirt a little bit, talk a little bit, discuss a little bit, connect a little bit, has been left in the room with somebody who's in a very, very intense discussion with either with a boss or a mother-in-law or somebody in authority, a very, very solid and infatuation which is hitting us like a thunderbolt. So there's an intense energy being dealt on one side, and on the other side you're like, I just want to chill out a little bit. So these two people are together in a room, they have nothing in common, but they've been forced to work with each other because there is something that each one can give to the other and help the other with. And one is totally about messy playing with colors, and the other is let's color code our lovers. The Venus in Capricorn aspect is very much like, I'm going to put a number against each one of the things or people I love, and let's go through the list of pros and cons. So practical long-term maturity of our choices is what Venus retrograde in Capricorn wants us to do. And that conflicts with the fact that we want to play, we want to experiment. We are a student who's on a spring break equivalent right now and just wants to have fun and experiment and play with stuff. Venus retrograde in Capricorn is going to ask us to clearly define the value of that play, the value of the creativity, the value of the art, the value of the conversations and commercial discussions and skills that you're acquiring, the breadth that you're using to discuss concepts with others, interactions with others. Venus-Pluto combination, when it is sitting right next to this full moon, will say, what is the value of it? What is the longevity of this flirtation with an idea or a person that you're having? This is like another part of us which is trying to reconcile the light and the frivolous part of us. So making sure respect, longevity, lucrativeness is part of the equation, is part of the selection process when it comes to playing with the loves of our life. And commercials essentially are met with some solid. It's not just that we're trying to make money, but there should be some amount of prestige, ego, titles that come from it. Loyalty is there in fun. Even if we're having fun with somebody, there needs to be some long term with them. Business is not forgotten in play. Venus-Pluto will not let us forget business in play. There will be a pressure to get quote-unquote our shit together without being so glib, without being lightweight about it, essentially. On money, on career, on lovers, on creative output. And that is Venus retrograde combined with the full moon in Gemini. Venus retrograde in Capricorn, just to understand, as much as it may not feel that we are very valued, because Venus, when it is retrograde, we feel that we are not very valued. Somebody makes us feel that we are not very valued, and we are trying to explore our own worth through some intense interaction with others. It is a process that helps us, even if in the moment we don't feel of value, it is a process which helps us arrive at a more valuable position. And in Capricorn, it helps us arrive at the next level of ambition, next level of growth in our career, in our long-term relationships, in our creativity, in money, as well as in stability. It adds pride in what we are playing in. If we are playing in something, it wants to give it a structure so we can have some pride in what we are creating. And all this reskilling and the change of mindset and the self-growth and the self-development journey that all of us have been on steroids for the last 2 years, it wants to make something out of that. It wants us to choose differently now, moving forward, and choose something solid as a result of that. It says, yes, it's great to learn to open yourself up to opportunities, which North Node in Gemini was trying to teach us. And there's nothing wrong in going for the untraditional, but the output needs to be not lightweight. The output needs to match your ambition. All this reskilling that you're doing, it still needs to get you to the stature as well, and the ambition that you also desire. That in being a student, you don't forget the ambitious side of it, ambitious side of you, and the side of you that wants to find structure, the part of you that finds beauty and creativity even in structure versus pure chaos. So there is a side of us which does relish, does enjoy knowing where things are going, or have some amount of structure around it. Finding comfort in loyalty, finding comfort in tradition, finding comfort in the stability of something traditional. So something old and something new, essentially. Finding love in the work, because Venus in retrograde with Capricorn, it's about going back to something old, going back to someone or something old. And sometimes in Capricorn, we go back to loving something that we did long time back, or regaining respect for our work. Sometimes we might just be doing things, but we don't respect what we are creating. There's a renewal of pride, renewal of respect in your own work, and renewing your love for what you do. Finding sometimes a partner, because Venus retrograde has to do with heart chakra, and that has logically to do with somebody we love. It's sometimes about finding respect in a relationship, or finding a relationship, or recognizing that in a relationship we want respect for who we are as a professional as well. That in our relationships we want to be respected for what we do as well, versus purely just by being a nurturer for the other person. You want to be respected for what you professionally do as well. Sometimes you find a partner who respects you immensely for what you do. But during the retrograde period is not the best time to find a new option. But yes, recognizing an old option and seeing a different side of that person, yes, a retrograde can help us do that. Gemini side of equation demands that we don't get so lost in the doom of it, because too much of Venus Pluto together in Capricorn can create this obsessive mind who only thinks of negative scenarios. So Gemini full moon is saying, lighten up a little bit, have a little bit of fun with it. Don't get so bogged down with trying to make something happen with it or find something concrete in it. Have a little bit of play with it, while acknowledging that yes, there are some negative feelings, there are some fears, and there is some logic behind those fears. Venus and Pluto cannot be ignored in this situation, because Venus part of you is trying to take care of you. It's trying to make sure that you definitely get what you desire. So Venus Pluto side of you is saying, yes, there are some fears and I need to acknowledge those fears. Gemini side is saying, don't get weighed down by the negative scenarios, by the negative thinking in the whole process. So objectively acknowledge the fears that so lurk, which Venus Pluto is bringing out, but not getting weighed down by it, not getting weighed down by the need for title. So much weighed down by the need for title, the need for ego, the need for pride gratification, that we miss out on learning opportunities, that we miss out on learning opportunities or fun opportunities that the new options which are messy are bringing as well, because that is how we are going to grow, as we discussed in the last video. That is the path to growth over the course of next 9 years as we live the results of North Node in Gemini. So the need, not get so bogged down by the need for long-term stability from an option that you miss out in having the fun and the variety of the moment, asking us to open ourselves to receive new inspiration, which only comes in playtime, versus, sitting in office trying to push yourself to ground, to make something happen. Venus Pluto is like, make something happen. And Gemini is saying, let's play a little bit, because that's how I'll realize what I like and what I desire. And then it's better to then go after so intently, even before we have figured out, do I love this? Do I like this? Does this bring me what I want? Going after it so intently without looking at that. So that specific way, anyways, over retrograde, we have 2 retrogrades, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. It means that our choices are going to change. It means that even if we are feeling very intensely about something right now, we may not feel like that by February, because through 2 retrogrades, your choices will change. Nothing works out as planned when you have 2 back-to-back retrogrades, that too in Venus and Mercury. So we're being asked by this full moon to go with a bit of flow, because it might take us to a better place, versus being intent about your plan, your way. One side of this equation knows that, yeah, I need money, I need stability, I need longevity, I need benefit of structure, I value the stability, I value getting a title, I value the concrete output of my passionate work. But there's another side of you which knows the value of play, which knows the value of flirting with ideas, knows the value of flirting with people, connecting with people on a lighter note, because it knows the value of trying new methods, trying new technologies, trying new skill set, trying new connections, trying new way of selling, speaking, interacting, playing, coloring outside the boundaries. It knows the value of that. We are being asked to marry and balance these 2 impossible choices in some ways, and we are when there's an in conjunction, we are bound to swing from one extreme to another, which means that on 1 minute we are fine being nothing but just fun. 1 minute we want it all to be intense. So we will swing from being glib and frivolous about it to tense and serious about it. So you'll find yourself going between the 2, and we're being asked to find a road that is not so glib and frivolous, as well as not so tense and serious. It can be 2 separate parts of your life possibly that you're trying to balance. One that requires you to be out and about, one which requires you to interact with a lot of people, write, read, use your communication and commercial skills a lot, have a little bit of party, fun, lighter side of you, while also the other part of your life where you are trying to figure out the structure. And it could be your personal life, where there is some amount of emotional intensity, and you're trying to balance that out with the commercial part of you. There might be 2 parts of your life that you're trying to balance. Venus-Pluto process might be creating a death rebirth in a specific relationship, or in a pattern of relationship. How we connect with others might be going through a death rebirth process, but normally there is a intense relationship situation that we are going through when Venus Pluto are together for such a long time, and that intensity changes us. It changes what we choose. It can completely consume us with the relationship drama, because we redefine what we love. We find our power in relationship, but it happens through power struggle, or it happens through a powerful influence. But we can get a bit compulsive with Venus Pluto, compulsive in fight, in ego, in ambition, in need for stability, in need to be the boss, or need to prove who is the boss, trying to control the outcome too much, as we won't be willing to accept a specific personal situation. There's a personal situation where we are intent on a specific outcome normally when Venus and Pluto are together. And it all must have started around 11th of December, when Venus met Pluto first at around 25°19' of Capricorn. And you can expect a lot of intensity throughout this month, but specifically around 30th of December, when Mercury, Venus, Pluto all will be together around 25-26° of Capricorn. There could be some intense thought process, or intense desire to speak up, or intense desire to create something which is very profound. Pluto is not just power struggles, it is also seeing through things. it is intensity which goes beyond all shallow things. So there might be a deep insight that you have received, or a deep connection that you have received with another, which might be going through some amount of change right now. And then by the end of the year, around 30th of December, when we are about to say Happy New Year, there might be some very, very serious, intense discussion. This is a very, very heavy energy when all these three planets are together. Communication is very heavy and intent, or we create something of a verbal nature, or a written communication which is very life-changing, or it is transformative for somebody. We will verbalize some intense thought process, or a desire, or even fear that you're feeling all of this December, and we feel that we can see through things. But the thing is that when Venus is retrograde, you have to recognize that there is still a lot of information that needs to come in. Mercury will also go retrograde at the same degree. So as much as you want to make up your mind about things, know that there is information that you still don't have at hand, and you will get that information in the course of Mercury retrograde towards the second half of January. I have written a whole timeline of January, of Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, date by date, what you might be feeling through it. I'm going to leave that in the description box of this video, as well as it's going to be on my site, and I'll post it on Facebook as well. So you can access through any of those, or I can send it to you if you're subscribed to my Substack, which is the set of email that I send my updates to, and the transcripts of all of my readings are sent to those email IDs as well. So if you want to be a part of that, it's a free service. You can subscribe to my Substack as well. The link is in the description. But I can send you that, so you sort of have a catalog of how am I going to feel through this process. But know that 30th of December is when you might have a very, very intense discussion, especially if you have planets around 25, 26 degree of Capricorn. Remember that Pluto went through retrograde, as I mentioned, on this degree in 2021. So we have had a period of death and rebirth process around this. So this is not going to be new to you. This intensity has been building up throughout the day, whether it is the desire that was building up, or it was the hatred that was building up to kill something, to literally have a death of something in your life, that you want something to go away from your life, and that has been building. And there was significant release, detachment that was created from what has been given up since April of 2021. Something might have been given up around April of 2021. There was a detachment that was created from what was possibly given up in April of 2021, and that detachment happened in 2018. 2018 is when we started the South Node in Capricorn process. So some loss, some event possibly in 2018 created a detachment. It could be a career from which a detachment was created. It could be a loss that you faced that created a detachment from titles. It could be somebody who you had to let go, which created a different pattern in your personal life. But this magical degree of 26, 27 degree of Capricorn, which is the natal Pluto of United States, a lot has happened as a precursor to this. So this is not new. This is just you now, having been through what you have been through since 2018. Now you making up your mind. So this process of December and January of Venus retrograde is you making up your mind about your choices. Capricorn part of our chart has gone through this a deep cleanse, loss, structurally stable part of your life. Capricorn is usually a support system, something that carries us through tough times. Someone, sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's somebody very critical for your life. For example, for me, it was my father. And you lost that someone, you lost that support at that time. And that changes you, that prompts a shift in your life, that prompts a detachment from something in your life, and you have only just about regained possibly power after that loss now with the Pluto retrograde, after this process of April to October, through your own initiative. But now you have to choose. You have to choose, how do I create value? How do I create beauty instead of ashes? How do I create something beautiful where something was lost? How do I create a gain? How do I create a hard choice where a void was left? So I covered the Pluto transit in detail as I mentioned in the last videos that I did by sign. You can access that so you know what I'm talking about for your sign. You can just click on the timestamp of Pluto Direct in the last set of videos. Per Aztec mythology, during the period of Venus retrograde, Venus assumed a form of a man and she walked Earth, making this a period of debauchery. That's how looked down upon in some ways was Venus retrograde time. It was considered to be a period of debauchery. It was the period when we did not choose well. Venus got drunk, coupled up, and a sky monster was born according to the mythology. So there are no sky monster hopefully being born, but you get the gist of it. The shadow side of us gets more at play, and with Pluto, this is like collective shadow side coming out to play, and you'll find that towards the end of the year this is getting intense now. And Venus is then, after all this debauchery, doing things which are not at the right frequency, because when Pluto Venus are together, there's a possibility of doing things not at a higher frequency. So when lower frequencies are rampant, you'll find that there is a reckoning that comes with it. And that is when Sun and Venus meet together, which is around 8th or 9th of Jan. So whatever debauchery or choices or, wrong choices in some ways, or we're not choosing appropriately, we can find around 8th or 9th of January, Venus is reborn. So in light of that reckoning, some of our choices would be shown to be false, shown to be debauchery, shown to be a play of ego, a play of, not so kosher intentions. Because Sun is like, he's the father, and he's like, what were you doing? So you'll find that around 8th or 9th of Jan, there is some amount of Venus is questioned. What were you, who were you partying with during the whole holiday time? So the inferior conjunction of Sun and Venus of 8th of January this year, it's around 18°43' of Capricorn. Something usually is given up and dies. This is Venus is sacrificed. In mythology, it was said that Venus is sacrificed when it meets Sun. So this is normally an important juncture, and some sort of structural thing is given up at that time. And something that was part of a structural prosperity, comfort, and even stability. And sometimes in a global scenario, you'll find that a monarch or a leader or a queen or a king, a structure that is no more part of the future, it dies at that time. There's normally a release or a stepping down that happens. Some important information comes up around that time. So 8th or 9th of January is the other date apart from 30th of December that I discussed. As I said, all of this is there. You can see the timeline in the comments, in the details, and on my Substack. But I'm just telling you the flow of how to expect, what to expect going forward. So around 8th or 9th of January, and I think this will be very critical for United Kingdom. And this falls on the ascendant of Queen. But if you have any planets around 18°43' of Capricorn, or any planets making aspects to it, this can have a long-term shift effect. This is the point of insemination in mythology, which means that there is a new thought from after something dies, something is burned off. Sun burns Venus and Venus is reborn. So a old choice is burned and a new choice is reborn. A new heart's desire is reborn. A new seed is born, which gives us prosperity, growth, and comfort. If that point of conjunction, as I said, at 18°43' of Capricorn, if it falls on any of our personal planets, for example, in case of Kate Middleton, it falls on her sun, so it will have a much longer term impact. In case of Queen Elizabeth II, it falls on her ascendant, so physical body, public title. This new seed will have a long-term impact on them, and similarly for you if it falls on your ascendant, sun, moon, or any of the personal planets. Debauchery aside, I find that when Venus is retrograde, it is the most we are in touch with our own creative process of life. It's the time when, we are so raw that we are so much more in touch with what we truly want. And there will be iterations of it, but when you're hurt so much, that's when you realize what you truly want. And somehow this process brings you closer to you. So Venus is both god of war and it is the god of love as well. So during the retrograde period, being in touch with yourself, making sure that there's some amount of comfort given to your own self, because this is Venus retrograde is when you're loving on you, you're taught to love on you. So being nice to yourself is what I'm saying at this time. It's essential. You are raw at that time. You are in that creative process of life where your heart chakra is being reborn. So it's mush when that's happening. As much as we become one with source of life around 8th or 9th of January, when Sun and Venus are going to meet together, the period leading up to it, know that it's going to evoke shadow side, as I said. So period before 8th or 9th of January, you'll find shadow side will be at the play. Period right after it, though, is different. So we are going to switch over after 8th or 9th of January. We're going to sort of switch over from Pluto process of intensity, in depth, let's fight a little bit, intensity, strong infatuations, all of those Plutonic process, the intensity, the depth, the analysis, the undercurrents, the stock market. Pluto is oil and stock market and the financial structure of the markets. Moving from that to Uranus process. Uranus is also stock market. Pluto is cartels. Uranus is independent. So free traders, essentially. But you shift from the process of death to new. Death is Pluto. Uranus is new. So let's look at certain surprises will come after 8th and 9th of January, because Uranus process comes with not analysis paralysis. Suddenly things happen. So you shift from this undercurrent, I'm going to fight, I'm going to not fight, I'm going to fall in love, not fall in love, to process to suddenly snap, things just very quickly start happening after 8th and 9th of January. Surprises, shifts, volatility, freedom, protests, it's all going to get intensified with that. After 29th of December itself, Mercury would be in shadow period, which means that after 29th of December, whosoever is saying whatever, they will possibly be reconsidering their words that are coming out of their mouth. So during the Mercury retrograde period, which is from 14th of January to 3rd of February, that is the time when words will get revised. Why did I say that? Why did I, those kind of things. So know that this 29th of December, you're committing something after 29th of December. Know that you'll probably have to go back on your words a little bit, or you might need to change your words a little bit. So, that's the time shadow energy is rife and Mercury is in shadow period. Be careful around that time. 29th of December to 14th of January, things that are being said, be careful of them. What are you committing? Who are you committing to? The turning retrograde timing of Mercury is the other key point. So set 30th of December and then 8th of January. And now the third critical date in my view is the timing of turning of Mercury around 14th or 15th of January, because Venus will be just rising up as morning star. This is the heliacal rising of Venus, and when that happens, somebody normally resigns. In Capricorn, somebody resigns. This is the time when leaders fail, when Venus is having its heliacal rising. It used to be the time which Mayans used to use to go to war, because it was said that the leaders on the other side are going to make stupid decisions, essentially. So it was a good time to attack them. So you'll find 14th or 15th of January is the time when you find that there's some amount of, resignations, or somebody doing something not so right in leadership. So we would see a lot of surprising, crazy things coming. Sorry for my language. We'll see a lot of surprising things which are not very well thought out coming out around 14th or 15th of January. This cycle of Venus retrograde also has Uranus in trine. So there are two key aspects which Venus retrograde is making. One is Pluto, which I explained. The other one is with Uranus. Uranus is in trine, is in positive aspect with Venus, which means that it's guiding us to a different choice through this intensity. It is not just ramming on about intensity for the sake of it. There is a new choice. Something new is coming in, which is why we are going through a intense process on the side. Sometimes, depending on the degree, some of you might be going through only either or of those processes, because the Uranus cycle is happening around 11 degrees, 10 to 11 degrees of Uranus, 10 to 12 degree of Earth signs. So it's playing around 10 to 12 degree of Capricorn, while the Pluto process, intense process, is going on around 27-28 degree of Capricorn. So depending on your personal planets, if you are personal planets interacting in the early degrees or in the later degrees, some of you might be only going through one of those things. But as a transit, normally this intensity, something is dying because something new is brewing. And you possibly see that something new brewing around 19th of November, which might be exciting. It could be disruptive, but it might be stimulating. It's a different choice. It could be a unique love affair, sudden love affair, which is electric, exciting, or it could be an opportunity, which despite the intensity of the moment is exciting. So there's something beyond the horizon of intensity, which is unconventional, which is beckoning you to go through this whole process of death, rebirth that Venus is going through in December with Pluto. And that will become more evident after 21st of January. So we went through the timeline a little bit. Again, look at the timeline I'm posting below. You'll understand the dates I'm going through. Then 21st of January to 6th of February is when Venus is going to be with Uranus. So amidst all the volatility between 21st of Jan to 6th of February, as Venus goes direct, you'll find that this new opportunity which was calling you, which possibly started around 19th of November, you'll find that that takes some shape or form between 21st of January to 6th of February. Venus turns direct on 29th of January, in the middle of that window, and it will be born as morning star. So after going through this whole process, intensity, December, sudden change, loving the change, you finally emerge as a morning star after 29th of January. And then you go after something that is new, that is interesting. You go after something that is a little bit ahead of time, but not in the shape or form that we started with around 19th of November. Sometimes the person itself is not the same that we started off with around 19th of November. So our choices are going to evolve with these two retrograde around these timings. Why we choose something or someone will also evolve during this time. Coming back to the current full moon and the Venus-Pluto transit, Gemini part of you just wants to go out and party. It just wants to have fun, play time that creates ideas for tomorrow, interact with people. Capricorn Venus retrograde, which is very intense, it wants you to go beyond the merriment. It wants you to go and make some tough choices, make some tough sacrifices. It might feel like everything is escape to Venus Pluto, all this New Year parties or interactions or connections or any kind of communication or ideation for future is futile till I put this to rest in some ways. But you see, sometimes the intensity itself is an escape. The intensity that we seek in a lover, the intensity that we seek in our work is sometimes itself an escape. Intensity that we seek in going on, non-stop doing something traditional, whether it is a 9 to 5 that we've been doing for ages, or it is the same kind of love affairs that we keep getting stuck in non-stop. Sometimes the escape is that. Escape is that intensity. Escape is from truly trying to change what needs to change in our mindset and approach so we can have a different outcome or have a different, person come in or have a different opportunity come in. We have not done that work. And sometimes the intensity in an existing choice is an escape from the change we need to make in our mindset, in our approach, an escape from trying something new, something new versus sticking to what we know always gets us so intense and riled up. Capricorn's side of us has a hard time trusting new possibilities. It will stress test an opportunity even before it has time to bloom. There's a lot of sensitivity to rejection. There's a lot of pride tied up, due to which it almost demands that I need to know everything before I can say yes. I need to know everything needs to be perfect, everything needs to be final, everything needs to be top-notch before I can commit. Gemini process is more messy. Gemini side of us wants to find a balance with this intensity. It wants to have a love affair that, need to be a little bit less intense, more fun. So Gemini, as I said, would want to find a balance with this intensity that Venus-Pluto is creating. Love affairs that are also intense with Venus-Pluto, fights that are so manipulative, jealousy that is beyond bounds, or emotions which are on steroids. Or Gemini would be helpful to put a lighter spin to it, reminding us to have a bit of fun in the moment, while we may even find words or creative output of all of this intensity. Maybe this is a subconscious way to purify something that has been going on within us. And maybe we can work out that intensity through either words, through creation, or through flirting, or through just taking something fun, and that might be an outlet of that intensity. So it's like a pressure valve, that helps you, and take it. At the same time, I've observed that Venus retrograde in Capricorn, somehow becoming more organized, releases our spontaneity. You become more creative after getting your stuff together, putting your things in order, focusing on the necessities of life, decluttering our life, attending to flesh. Somehow it helps our mind focus on the variety we are meant to be letting in. I wrote all of this text and all of these videos after vacuuming and putting my house in order. So, sometimes you have to do what needs to be done, and then the creativity or the words flow much easily because you have the ease to be doing it. And I've seen this in Venus retrograde in Capricorn, that somehow we are able to do what is fun if we are got our shit together. While Venus retrograde could ask you to not get lost in choices, that is the Capricorn part of you. Capricorn part of you will want you to narrow down your choices that you've created, because over the course of last 2 years in North Node in Gemini, we have created many options for us. All of us have created many choices through the volatility. But rather it wants, now Venus Capricorn is saying, let's choose something, because our attention span of a goldfish on each of those things is not going to get us anywhere. This could even be choices in personal life. Pin down what do you want. Choose long term. Choose what is stimulating but is also meeting your basic needs in some ways. Earth matters. In Earth element, Venus retrograde wants you to organize the practical facets of your life, your worth, your money, your self-esteem, the health, especially the life path, and it's long term. Make sure that it's long term. Make sure that it's ambitious enough. Make sure the choices that we are making in relationships and life, they are in some ways meeting your basic needs. I have normally observed there's a stark focus on career choices, on places we have outlived in career, statures that don't fit us anymore. Somehow there's an issue created with an authority figure if you are, lowballing yourself, if you're in a position that is below your capacity. I've seen that there is an issue which is created with the authority figures, with the bosses, with the seniors, with the senior clients sometimes, and then the self-worth attached to the work you do, if that has diminished in some ways, as I said, you're working below your capacity, that gets highlighted in form of an issue with Venus retrograde in Capricorn. Question of how do we value ourselves and work comes up. How to stand for ourselves in a situation where in some ways our honor is at stake. That comes up. Our ego, pride, respect, titles could be at stake. How do we stand up for ourselves in that situation? That comes up. And how do we choose when our ego is questioned? Do we change our choices? Do we change the not just the words but the actual choice? Do we change the place? This is Capricorn, this is Earth. You have to actually change, physically change something. This is not about changing mindset alone. This is actually changing a job, changing the boss, changing the actual work you do, the actual career you have, the way you handle yourself at work. This is not a thought process thing. In Capricorn, you have to change something physically. So we must remember during this phase, as I said, no matter how much the external circumstances make you feel, this is a phase which will bring you to a more valuable phase of your career, more valuable phase of your external life. But with Venus retrograde, it always comes to a feeling of not feeling of value enough, questioning your own skill set, questioning your values. There's always an element of dissatisfaction in relationships with authority figures. It could be an existing or a new authority figure or an organization structure, or it could be sometimes a dominant parent with whom the conflict is there. But our equation with them is normally in flux at the time, and the specific cycle is very different from December 2013 to January 2015 because dominant aspect of Pluto did not exist at that time. So if you do remember December 2013 to January 2014 time, most of the people don't, but if you do remember, you can look at your emails from that time, from December 2013 to January 2014. You would find that if something was set loose at that time, this I deserve better kind of thought process. I deserve better. I deserve a different career, or I want something different in my career, or I want something different when it comes to being the authority of my own life and my own time. You'll find that setting loose is now completely, totally reborn in the cycle, because Pluto will not have any fake choices, will not accept your ego and pride being compromised. That is where it is in some ways holding your hand to make a different choice if your ego and your stature and your pride is being compromised in some ways in what you do. Venus in Capricorn is once in 8 years, 4-month journey from 5th of November to 6th of March 2022 is when Venus will be in Capricorn. This is a long 4-month process, and it is a process of maturity of our choices in relationships, in money, in creativity, in love, in matters of heart. What do we love? Who do we love? It does take a creative handover from the last Venus retrograde, which happened in Gemini in May or June of 2020, where we learned how to speak up about our desires and relationships. And we have to carry those lessons of speaking up of our desires and relationships. In your personal capacity, Venus Pluto brings intensity in personal life. There will be excessive possessiveness, jealousy, control issues, manipulation of emotions will be very rampant in this holiday season. Guilt-inducing, jealousy-evoking power plays, gestures to keep things on the edge would be common during Christmas. Santa this year was going to come with a real naughty or nice list, possibly from your mother or some female in your life trying to tell you all the things that you did wrong all year. There's going to be holiday drama. 11th and 25th of December is when Venus is exactly conjunct Pluto. So there will be drama on Christmas. You can expect that. And there will be words exchanged right after Christmas. 3rd of March 2022 is when the last aspect is made between these two. It is sort of like, sometimes there's either a love affair or a financial choice or a creative choice or some sort of choice that you're making in Capricorn part of your chart, which has to be very, very important for your life path, for your formal title, personal title or professional title. That choice becomes abundantly clear only by 3rd of March 2022, in my view. Hades Venus continues. Know that we will explore our subconscious through another, but it will come with crazy love or crazy hatred for somebody. But in either of those, know that it's not about the other person. It's just you exploring you. It has very little to do with attractiveness of a lover or abhorrence of another person who you're feeling deep hatred for. Sometimes that happens. We become obsessively negative about something or obsessively positive about something. There's an extreme emotion that comes in. It has very little to do with the other person. You'll find that after that transit, it's like you'll see that, not a swan but a duckling. You'll see that. But it has to do with your own subconscious process. You're trying to love on you. You're trying to meet a desire that you have. You're trying to meet that desire through either an intense love or hate for another. If it is power that you're missing in another part of your life, you might be trying to get it through a power struggle with another in your personal life. Sometimes we feel powerless in our professional life, and we try to find that in our personal life. There could be some of that going on. But it's not all for nothing. All this drama is because we want deeper relationship. We want lucrative jobs. We want to attract people who we can connect with at subconscious level, not just at the surface. We want intense intimacy in personal life. We want more satisfaction from the creativity that we're creating, not just in the mind, but in earth matters. We want satisfaction from what we're creating. So we want to be financially also satisfied from what we are creating. And that's the net aim of this cycle. And our full moon conclusions, completions, reskilling, all this change of the mind would need to find its balance. Will need to find its balance with the seeking of the stability that we have. This intense need to find stability, lucrativeness, as well as long term. You'll have to find a balance with the fun energy of this full moon. Fun energy of this full moon. You would see a lot of reality of existing relationships and bosses through these intense encounters. Pluto does show you reality. So it's very raw. When people show you who they are, you have to believe them. And from that place, you might need to make some very tough and honest choices. Everyone, though, has a very different way of showing their love. And in Capricorn, focus on the actions. Don't focus on the words. Focus on the action. If somebody is showing you something different from their actions, focus on that. Venus retrograde period is great to realize things about existing choices we have made rather than going in for new choices. So existing partnership choices, existing financial investment choices, revising salary discussions of existing cycle, existing bosses, positions and career. Not about making new choices. You're still trying to figure out what you want before you can, bed down something. So don't bet down something yet. It might not yet be the time, unless you want to go all full, Gemini on it and have some little bit of fun. Then don't expect Capricorn things out of them. Don't expect long-term stability out of them. It's a place to set your own heart right before we can go and do things. Considering it's at the start of the year, expect a slow start of 2021, of 2022, unlike 2021. 2022 will start a little bit slow because we have 2 retrogrades to get through in January and February. And that's why I was saying that truly 2022, in my view, will start in February, when we have put a bow on 2021. We have 2 personal retrogrades to get through. We have Saturn-Uranus square to get through. A lot of inner reconsiderations before the external change. So that's what I have for you in the part 2. I'll see you in the part 3 now. Thank you so much.